Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Mind Refinery podcast, provided to you by us, the Mind Refinery, creators of content, aggregators of popular culture, and a place where creatives thrive. I'm your host, Kyle Bodanis. This episode, we're going to begin to look at our favorite video games and how they shape the various parts of our lives. We're going to start with grade school, those bygone days when games were cartridges and pizza lunch was the hottest social event on your calendar. Before we get started, if you haven't checked out and subscribed to the Mind Refinery YouTube channel, do it. Lots of great content, our culinary series Plated, new episode of This Is Cosplay, short films, podcasts, and don't forget to follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter for all your Mind Refinery news. What you're about to hear is part 2 of our epic discussion about the games that made up our grade school lives. If you haven't heard part 1, it's up on our feed and you might want to start there. But if you're all caught up, sit back, relax, and without further ado, here's the show. Okay, guys, my number 2 pick is Street Fighter 2 Turbo.
Nice.
I feel like I spent more time in movie theaters playing this game than actually watching movies when I was a kid. This is the first game where I went from being terrible at it to being able to compete against people at the arcade.
Who did you main?
Who did you main? Main? My main is typically Bison.
Okay.
I use Bison and Honda. That's my thing. To come from a Ryu user, so you can spam fireballs and wait for me to jump up to you.
Listen, I'll dragon punch.
I found out like recently that there's an entire meta behind, much like Pokemon Go. There's a whole like meta behind these fighters. Like,
of course there is.
Various people had put charts and like would look and worked out probability of beating
every game.
Players.
There's a metaphor, like literally every game.
Yeah, I didn't know that, but like for me, it was more like I was never, and then I was kind of realized that I was kind of embracing the meta anyways. Like for example, if you're using Honda, Honda is you naturally at a disadvantage against a fighter like Ryu because the Ryu player is cheap and will spam you with fireballs, and you have to get in close to him. But an expert Ryu user will Soryuken you the second you try jumping in, right? So you got to do this like you got to get in and try to like knock him off with a 100-hand slap, or you gotta make sure you're on him right away, stick to him right away. Whereas the strategy with Ryu is to keep distance
and just
right
spam.
away, and then work that distance and then spam. Like even if you know it's a cheap character when if you're playing, the CPU on the highest setting, it's spamming you as well.
Oh yeah,
that's what it's doing. It's like Hadouken. Yeah,
Ryu was like super OP.
And I spent so much time playing this game.
Sagat was pretty sick.
Honestly, if you were good with Sagat, like he was the best of both worlds. Because if he got in close on you, you could.
He had the reach though too.
He could do damage, and also like he can spit fireballs. As well. Tiger uppercut.
Yep.
Like a fan, like a Sagat, definitely someone I keep in my pocket. If I was a tournament player, I'd probably keep a Sagat in my pocket. What do you look at me for? What?
Love that. Pocket. I just love that.
Yeah, I know. You got to keep it in your pocket because then people are like, well, I got this Ryu on you and I can do nothing. And then all of a sudden I'm bringing out Sagat and then you're like just smashing him with, tiger knees. And
how is there still like a big competitive scene around Mortal Kombat?
There's
Street Fighter 2?
Sorry, Mortal Kombat. Don't worry. We'll get into it. Don't worry. I still have another one.
I meant to say Street Fighter.
Yes. There is actually a tournament. I think they cut it off at Championship Edition as the earliest they play, but there's still an active.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. There's still an active
Street
Fighter. Yeah, for all of them coming up, right? And I thought from all of them like subsequently after that, but like it's the new fighters, like when it adds like T-Hawk and like Cammy and everything that it starts where they
start branching off.
Yeah, and where they get into like tournament play that still happens, to this day. I was like, wow. I was actually surprised how big of a
scene this still is.
How big of a scene, even for the the older games, which I love. And like I mean, my neighbor across the street, Hitoshi, a lovely Japanese guy.
Nice.
Used to go to Japan for the summer, come back with games, and
he had like a Famicom.
Oh yeah, he would, and he came back with this game and. It was love at first.
Changed lives.
Love at first play. Then we played in the arcade, and it was just quarters, and we'd spend hours. We'd go see a movie. I'd get in trouble because I'd see a movie for 2 hours, and then just be there for another 4 hours playing, and it'd just be people lining up and playing, and just like big groups of people slapping quarters down. People just being like, "Oh, this," you know what I mean? And then like playing one guy one time, maybe he beats you, but then you come at it with another character the next time, and he's got no solution for that, and it becomes like tactics of selection and all that sort of stuff where you're getting, really not thinking about the meta of the game, but technically you're getting into the meta of the game. You just didn't really. I feel like
there's also like separate metas. There's like worldwide metas, but then you have like metas in your friend group. Like, you know what I mean?
100%.
Yeah.
Like you have like those types of games too. It's like you have these like little mini like evolving metas that you have in your friend group for whatever game, like for like GoldenEye, for Street Fighter, for Mario Kart, whatever. Like you like what do you call it? Like Smash, whatever. Like you have these like little mini just ways like that, like, oh, now like this is like super OP in the group because like it's like this new thing that nobody's expecting. So then you like have to find a counter to that thing, even though, like, you know what I mean? So yeah, there's like worldwide metas, but then there's also like friendship metas.
Yeah, a lot of time was spent playing this, and this kind of was the first fighting game I got super into. Like, I loved fighting games, and I had gone back after playing it and played like the earlier Street Fighter stuff, which I think is unplayable.
What is Street Fighter 1 for? I've like never played or seen.
I never
it.
played Street Fighter 1. So I played the first Street Fighter.
I played
2.
the Street Fighter 1 was just like it was like a side scroller, like a beat 'em up. You would just
Oh,
go one way, and I think you could pick as I think it was only one of them. There was only Ryu or Ken, and you could only just be that one, and it was kind of like
By Capcom? It
kind
was
of like
by-
Fatal Fury,
Okay.
kind of.
It was a Capcom game,
yeah,
right? I assume.
yeah, they were.
Yeah,
it's
and then
Capcom
Street Fighter
franchise.
2, like the original Street Fighter 2 is, I think, unplayable.
Why? It's,
Well,
it's
I
exactly
played-
the same,
no,
but there's
it's
not
slow,
as many
it's
characters.
significantly slower.
So that was the
Yeah,
thing.
it's much slower.
And
there's-
can't you change the
and there's less,
speed?
and there's less
Can't you change the
characters.
speed on it, or was that only turbo?
No, that's in the turbo, because you
Okay.
can play the turbo mode with the 5-star, like with the
Yeah,
4
you, and you can put the damage input as stronger.
Yeah,
too.
it was just, I think what it was is they just worked on the mechanics of the game a bit better. Like that's what it was, because it was like some like same basic characters. There were
Yeah.
some additions, but then they just
It's an expansion pack.
yeah, they just
It
made
was
it
like
better.
a revision.
And
Yeah.
then that's the arcade game.
that's
that
like a
really,
2.0.
That
So-
really, that's when you're playing games at speed.
That kind of what launched everything. Is
Absolutely,
Turbo,
man.
right?
That was the first game where you can get dusted
Yeah.
if someone like knows what they're doing.
First fighting game
Shit.
with combos too, and they were a glitch.
Yes,
Was
absolutely.
it like they had that in the original Street Fighter 2, right?
So like in Street Fighter, they were like I guess I would say unofficial combos
Yeah.
where like there's combinations you're putting in, but it wasn't like around like the structure of the game like when they came out later where it was like combos and everything.
Yeah.
I think after Killer Instinct came out, everything became combo-y and everyone realized we kind of like got to do these combinations and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then they did it, and then I thought but the way they did it was fantastic.
Mm.
Because when you're getting into the games like Street Fighter 4 and like Street Fighter 5, like they're really good. Like they really I also like how those games haven't strayed too much
from what
from
they
the
were.
original. I
Yeah.
feel like you know what I feel like they're like? Mario Kart now. If you play the Switch Mario Karts, same basic idea, but
Yeah.
I feel like they just improved the game functions and just modernized it rather than making it some like completely different thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, for sure.
Well, there was the one Street Fighter game that was 3D, wasn't there?
Well, yes, I'm trying to remember.
What was it
4.
called?
Was
Street
like,
Fighter
was
for
it
PlayStation?
Alpha? Was it Street Fighter Alpha 3 or something?
It was Alpha. No, Alpha was still. It was more like cartoony.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it was like 3D. It was like Virtua Fighter style. With
Oh,
like
That was for
Okay.
PlayStation.
That was
I
for
think I
PlayStation.
remember.
Sorry,
Yeah.
yes, that
it
was
was,
for
it was
PlayStation.
Now I
trash. It was
remember.
trash. And
Yeah.
then they like never went back to it, I don't think, for that.
Yeah.
Did
The
any of
Street-
you play the crossovers? Like the
Yeah.
Oh, versus
No.
like Marvel versus Capcom.
Like I played
Oh,
them
yeah.
like casually.
That's
but-
why I want to get the Steam combo pack. It has
There
Marvel
you
versus
go.
Capcom.
Oh, it does. Oh, okay, cool.
Because those games were awesome. Because
they're-
if you were
they're
good at the
phenomenal.
Marvel fighting games and you were good at the Street Fighter fighting games, it's completely.
Because I see that at the
Same good.
tournaments on like even one of the conventions we went to. I seen these kids going crazy on
Yeah.
that.
Yeah,
I
it's
was
still
oh,
huge.
still a
That
good game.
introduced the tag team, right? You could do the tag team
Yeah.
combos
Yeah.
all together, and that
Yeah.
I played Championship Edition. I remember when they brought Champion Edition into the arcade at Milk and Things,
Milk and Things.
and that brought all the grade 8s and stuff
Is
would
Milk and
start
Things
coming
still
and
open?
take over.
we go now?
Yeah, it's absolutely
and-
still. It doesn't have arcade cabs in it though, but
Next time
it's
we're
still
in
there.
Grimsby, can we go to Milk
Yeah,
and Things?
yeah, absolutely. That's where.
Sick.
Yeah,
That'd be
you
pretty
can get
cool,
your
actually.
you can get your smokes there. You get that.
No, I quit smoking.
Oh, you did?
guy quit
Congratulations!
smoking.
Yeah.
Congratulations, man.
Yeah,
Are you
thanks.
finding
There you
yourself
Did
playing
you
more
notice?
video games?
We were outside earlier. No smoking.
No, I didn't
Are
see
you
any
playing more
smoke
video
coming out of
games
your
now
ears.
because of it?
Wait, am I playing more?
Yeah.
Video
Yeah,
games?
yeah. How do you get that dopamine rush?
Yeah.
It's,
just like
it's not that. This
Compensating in a different way.
This
Yeah.
isn't that type of podcast. So.
He's got-
let's move on.
He's got like just Costco tissue boxes all over.
Just has a PA follow him just to wipe his tears.
Anyway,
Anyways, yeah, no.
we'll get I'll get my Snickers bars there.
So I remember, dude, all these grade 8 kids were there hogging the machines, and we would wait up to put our coins up, and dude farted on me. What? Yeah, dude farted on me. He farted on me, and that
On
pissed me
purpose?
off
How
so
did
much.
he
Yeah.
fart on you?
Well, he didn't. He just like
He's just leaning.
At the
They-
arcade
they-
machine?
Yeah, I was waiting behind them. I put my carts up, 2 people at the arcade playing, and he just like puts his ass out and starts farting. It's like, fuck
He
you.
probably uses Zangief for sure.
Oh man.
I hated Zangief users.
Oh my god.
They like
That's
they,
wild.
Kicked
like
his ass though.
Yeah.
Kicked his ass, and little
Well,
kid.
you have to after
little
that.
kid kicked his ass.
That's what
Go fart your way home, buddy.
That's-
wow.
Go
that
fart
is
your way.
the
Get farted
only way.
To respond to that.
Oh yeah, that's the only way you respond.
So like that's that
Get farted
that
on.
feeling of like that was a one-on-one fighter. That was the first time I experienced that at the arcade, and it was a game changer because you're just like, it's probably how you guys felt with Mario Kart and stuff like that. This is when you're fighting a dude, not in real life, but in a game.
And it's important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There is
There's
stakes.
stakes.
There is respect on the
Yeah.
line. That's the thing. That was the thing
Bragging
about fighting
rights,
it.
man.
It was like my version of MMA when I was a kid. Instead of actually having to work out and like fight people, I got to like get respect virtually.
See, this is interesting having this insight into this like arcade, because obviously like I've played arcade games at like movie theaters and shit, but
Yeah.
I was a little too young to like go to arcades. Like my parents were like, that's where they sell drugs, is at the arcade. So I never had like the arcade. Never had in my life
It was
the arcade
terrible.
experience.
I couldn't get any weed at the arcade.
So I never had the arcade experience of like slapping a quarter down, like waiting in line, playing Street Fighter against people. Like I've been to like barcades now and shit, but it's not. It's like
No,
It's
You're
like
not in
it's
the
not-
you're
exactly.
not in the moment.
Exactly.
In the
exactly, you're not in the
zeitgeist of it,
zeitgeist.
and that
of it.
was like where you could play games that were better than console. So
Way
like playing
better,
like
yeah.
Tekken and all these games before
Yeah.
PlayStation came out.
Because the arcade was the release. That's what
Exactly.
they were worried about. How good does this look on arcade?
Yeah.
And then can we translate that experience?
It was a
into
secondary
console?
market. It was a
That's
secondary
why I
market.
was a
Yeah.
Sega kid, because I grew up at the arcade and just seeing what Sega would do with like Daytona USA and like Virtual Cop and all those stuff.
Virtual Cop,
I
yeah.
wanted those experiences at home. But anyways, yeah, Street Fighter is an awesome game.
So we are now going to move on to our number one picks. Our favorite, not our favorite, the games that define us
Yeah,
for grade school.
the most defining.
The most
yeah.
defining. Lanza.
All right. So I'm gonna paint the scene here a little bit for this one. It's Christmas 1992. My brother and I. So we're
Great year.
yeah, grade 2 I
I
think
was
I was
two.
in. Yeah, you were 2. Okay. Shout out to little baby Omar.
Baby Omar with 4
So
stars.
my brother and I had opened all the Christmas presents. We're sitting there with our, I don't know, probably we had like Darkwing Duck action figures or some shit. I don't know.
Sweet.
And my parents are like, oh, I think we forgot to open a gift. And I'm like, I don't give a fuck. I'm playing with my Darkwing Duck or like my Ninja Turtles or whatever. So they like wheel out this like box about yay big. I'm like, all right, like I don't care. Like I got this shit. Like I don't care about that.
What a terrible child.
This is what I'm thinking. I'm like,
You ungrateful piece of shit.
well, because I was like, I don't know what this is. Like I got my toys.
Sorry, Mom. You only worked over an extra job to get me this.
Okay, I'm
console.
obviously over exaggerating. I was just not paying attention.
I got the same attitude when we gave you lunch.
Gave me lunch. Got my
Oh,
own
wow.
Tim's. Thank you very much.
It's narrative fiction to help drive the joke.
So my brother and I, we tore open this box about yay big, and it was a Super Nintendo Entertainment System. Not expecting it
yeah.
whatsoever. Just we like didn't even think in a million years we'd get it as a Super Nintendo. We lost our minds. Like that, like N64, that iconic N64 video of the kids losing their minds on Christmas. Like that was us. Like losing, like absolute meltdown. So what game was the pack in with the SNES? Super Mario World.
Nice.
Super Mario World for me is like, that was the first game that was released. I think it was like SNES, like Pilot Wings, and like ActRaiser. I think were like the 3 release games for the Super Nintendo. So this was like Christmas. So this was like a couple months already since the Super Nintendo came out. I'm not sure if there's too many more games, but that game was like, first of all, the first game, and like I'd go back to that game the whole time I had the Super Nintendo. I've beaten that game front to back countless times. And like, how do you improve upon Super Mario 3? Like Super Mario 3 came out right at the end of the NES's lifespan, and Super Mario 3 was a fucking like masterpiece.
Incredible.
Absolutely incredible.
I almost
Like
put it on this list.
I don't have the affinity with it because I never had an NES, so I can't choose it, but it's up there for me for sure. And then like I played the remake in Super Mario All Stars for Super Nintendo, whatever, where they had all the Mario. But this one, like, how do you up the stakes? How do you improve upon Super Mario 3 with the power ups? You had the frog suit, you had the leaf, you had the Tanuki suit, you had everything. And it's like, how do you improve upon that? They had like the map and everything. And then I remember playing Super Mario World for the first time, and just like my mind was blown. Like I couldn't even understand.
Were you crying?
Like I don't like I no, I wasn't crying.
Fucking Yoshi.
Yeah. You like the
that
beginning of the
what-
game, you
Okay.
fucking hop on the back of Yoshi and you're like eating fucking berries and like jumping around.
Mm.
Absolutely incredible
And
game.
there's multiple
Absolute-
Yoshi.
Yeah, multiple
There's
colors.
Yoshi?
Yeah, you have the blue Yoshi that flies. You have the yellow Yoshi that like.
That's the first instance of Yoshi, right?
that is
Is
yes,
it?
yep.
That's his first
Okay.
appearance.
Absolutely.
Okay.
He might have been in some like promotional video before that, but video game wise, 100%. I think they wanted him in Super Mario 3, but there was technical limitations. But yeah, so Super Mario World was just an absolute phenomenon at the time. It would like the level design is incredible. Every single level in the game is just a masterpiece. Every single power up, every single enemy. There's really nothing bad I can say about that game. It's a Nintendo game where it's relatively easy, but then once you get starting to like you unlock like the Star World and then like the special world, like the levels get insanely hard as you move along in the game. And the soundtrack is just so iconic. You have that one theme. Literally every song in the game is like one theme, but just done differently. Like when you hop on Yoshi, it adds like the drums to it.
Mm.
And like it's just like the underwater level is like a variation of that theme. Like if you're up in the sky doing platform, it's like a variation of like the main, like they're all variations of like the same theme. And yeah, for me, there's no other game. Like I again with the Super Nintendo Mini, keep going back to it, playing that through again. I haven't beaten it all the way through, but I got very, very far in it, and it's just
It's a long game, right?
It is a long game.
it is. Yeah,
I've
I
never
beat
finished it
like the
myself.
main like beat Bowser, but then didn't do like all like the Star World and like Special
Oh,
World
okay.
and all
Yeah.
that shit.
Yeah.
But it's a fantastic game.
I think it's like I think Mario was like the measuring stick too. So like coming out with the Mario, including it in the pack, you know what I mean? Like it shows the progress of the system. So comparing it to previous Marios, then like how have we expanded from there? How do the levels look? How's the playability? Is the story expanded? All that kind of stuff. Rather than all the,
sorry, go ahead.
and then rather than all these suits, you have, you know, different Yoshis, different friends to do it with who all have different abilities because you're in this like dinosaur land, and it maintained the feeling and enjoyment and even like the basic gameplay of the third and like the previous installations minus Rogue Mario 2.
Well, I mean, it's it's still Mario's lost levels.
Doki Doki
Yeah.
Panic.
Yeah, Doki Doki. Yeah, exactly.
So-
that
and
was like we
for
talked
the
about that in the like first episode.
Yeah.
Doki Doki Panic.
I've got that. I've got a mint copy of that.
Oh,
really?
Family,
Wow.
Family disc. I have a.
Do you?
Yeah.
No
A
Is that worth anything?
I have a. Yeah, it's worth a lot. I have a Sharp Family disc system that you can play. So it's a Nintendo, original Nintendo, but it's made by Sharp, and it's got the Family disc built into it.
Crazy.
Yeah.
That's great.
So if you ever want to play the original Mario 2,
This is a flex.
yeah, no, for sure it's a flex, man. Retro game.
Holy,
PC Gaming Master Race, Retro Gaming Master Race.
Wow, that was aggressive.
he has it.
That was aggressive male posturing for video games.
Anyways, let's bring it back to. So I like what you're saying about the jump from Mario 3 to Super Mario
jump.
World.
Sorry,
The jump.
that was very on brand. Go on.
Yeah. So Super NES was bringing extra buttons to it.
Yeah.
So that's different moves from Mario. And we know what A and B do. Now you had 2 extra buttons and you had shoulder buttons on that weird thing. What did those do to Mario?
Okay. So the extra button, you did like a spin jump
Mm-hmm.
that you could like. That was like if you landed
It was
on
like an
enemies, was like
attack
more
thing.
powerful.
Yeah.
You can like hit enemies with like shells and shit. And then the L and R, they were only like scroll forward. So like how Mario's in the beginning of the frame. So if you hit R, it would like scroll
There's a
forward.
peak. Like
Yeah, it was like
peak.
it was a little peak. It was like a
Okay.
little fast forward.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, essentially, what was crazy, but like since you were saying it was like the pack-in game for it, it essentially has to be like that's like a tech demo
Yeah.
Yes.
for the system.
100%.
That's like not only is it a tech demo, but that's like a selling point. That's like that's the only thing that you can play on the system essentially, unless you want to play Pile of Wings. Let's be real.
Terrible.
But if you're going to your friend's house and you're going to play Super Nintendo, you're going to be playing Super Mario World, and like. Yeah, like the colors, the like, everything's just so vibrant and colorful and just fun. The game is just fun.
even as, you know, an older person who has seen all these other games come out with like fantastic graphics, Like the difference between going from 3 to that is fantastic. Like it's a big jump.
Yeah.
It's such quality. It's a success for them. Like,
it took all the subsequent Marios and like built upon it. Like it didn't lose. Like they didn't everything they learned in those previous Marios. You can see the evolution in this Mario, and then they do that with every single one since then. Like Mario 64. Like we'll get into Mario 64, but like that's
Bowser fight is better. Like I feel like, when you're fighting other ones, it's like in Mario 1, you're like jumping to try to like hit a platform underneath him.
Yeah.
And then
the
trying,
axe.
Yeah.
So
And then like it's got a pretty simple setup in Mario 3 as well. But then this one's coming out different. It's a little bit more intense because he's dropping the dudes.
he's in a little fucking heliocopter.
But yeah, he's flying.
It just shows the capabilities really of the system, right?
Again, you got the mode 7
Yeah.
with the Bowser. Sorry, mode 7. We've mentioned it multiple times. It's like a way to manipulate pixels and like rotate them, and you can like have bosses that are like rotating and scaling. It's essentially a cheap form of scaling, and and then you can have it mode 7 with like backgrounds, as in F-Zero, Mario Kart, whatever. Anyway, just a little background on that.
Fantastic. Okay, let's move on to Omar. Omar, number
great.
1 for elementary school, grade
For
school, whatever you
elementary
want to
school,
call it.
grade school. So I'm sure everybody can agree. At this time, I was probably in grade 2 or 3, and I had a Game Boy Pocket,
What color?
green. It was amazing. I was very happy with it. I remember getting it. I had this James Bond 007 game. That was pretty cheesy, but it was the only game I had, and Tetris. And one day, I think it was an early birthday gift, I believe, and I got Pokemon Red.
Fuck yeah.
And I remember like opening it, seeing this thing, and like jumping on my bed for at least like 5 minutes. And then I fucking popped it in, and I'm there like, this is the greatest moment of my life. Because I knew Monday when I went to school and I brought my Game Boy, it was going to be on. Like every kid was coming over.
You're the
Going to
king.
be sitting beside me, watching me play this thing. So yeah, my game would be Pokemon Red version. Shout out to all the Red version users out there.
Yeah, that was me. Even though I was a Squirtle guy, but still
You're
that
a Squirtle guy?
that red pack, like that red cartridge with the fucking Charizard on it.
Oh, dude. And I just remember wanting the game, and then I realized, oh man, because I was a big fan of the show and the cards. So then I remember I'm like, okay, where's my Pikachu? So I was like excited to get a Pikachu, and then I'm like, oh, that's
First
not what you
person ever
start
to
with.
be excited for Pikachu.
I was excited to get a Pikachu because I was like, oh yeah, I want to be like Ash and whatever. And then I realized, oh, I could pick one of these 3 guys.
So who did you choose first?
I obviously went with Bulbasaur because he had the most attitude.
Bulbasaur. He's
He had
sassy
the
as
most
fuck.
sassy.
He had the
Pikachu-
most attitude.
Definitely first person to be excited with Pikachu. I feel like those spawns in Pokemon Go make my eye twitch.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Too many event Pikachu's.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I just remember I picked Bulbasaur, and then when I went to school, everybody had a Charmander, and I felt left out.
But then you fucking rocked
And
him.
then I rocked it because like was it
Well,
like the
no,
first
wait,
2
hold
gyms
on.
or whatever?
Yeah, well, yeah, you rocked in the game,
Yeah.
but not against Charizard.
No, not against Charizard.
Yeah,
I
you
got like destroyed because I think that's when they introduced the Game Link, where you
Yeah.
could connect to the other people, and yeah, so like that. Just I remember being in class, and people would be sneaking playing Pokemon in class, and like we had a huge assembly about it. And I remember our principal was getting on the verge of banning anything Pokemon because kids were not paying attention.
It was
like,
it was a phenomenon. That was just like GoldenEye,
Dude.
like Pokemon when it first, like, it's still huge, but like when it first came out, it was fucking
it was crazy.
massive.
I remember reports like in the States, kids were dying over this thing, man. Like it was nuts, and we were addicted. Like I think it's the
Yeah.
first time I've ever experienced an addiction to a video game. Like I don't remember. a
Unfortunately, not for me.
moment. I'm a kid at that time, so
For
this
sure,
was
for
like
sure.
the like I remember my mom, like, to punish me before she would tell me I couldn't go outside. She would just take that away, and my life would be over. And it was like that for about 3 years.
So I have a question.
Yeah.
As Andrew Lanson knows, as the person who got me into Pokemon Go, first of all, when Pokemon Go dropped, I made fun of all my friends for playing Pokemon Go. Then Lance is like, you should play Pokemon Go. And then I tried playing it, and I'm like, I'm addicted to this game. And I'm like, now
You're
I'm
like
loving it.
addicted right away.
I'm right away. I like picked up, I like caught one Squirtle, and I'm like,
Life
please, I'm like, I need more. And then I ended up loving it. I ended up playing. Now I'm like, let's get into fucking PvP tournaments and shit like that.
Oh,
I did
man.
not play any of the previous Pokemon games.
Oh no!
And I was obsessed with those like card games too, like Magic the Gathering and shit. I never played Pokemon cards either, which seems like it's now that I am playing Pokemon Go seems completely up my alley.
Well, yeah, it
Yeah.
was made
Oh,
like
dude, you would've loved it.
the original card game. Now it's not made by Wizards of the Coast anymore, but it was originally made by Wizards of
Yeah.
the Coast. Like the first like 5 generations of the card games were all Wizards of the Coast.
So what about the game? Should I go backtrack and play them?
like-
Do I need to?
Not like there's like every
How much overlap? is there?
generation there's already been like 2 or 3 remakes of that generation. Like if
Yeah.
you go back and play the original ones, like at the time they were like amazing.
Really good, yeah.
Don't get me wrong, but now like there's things about the first games that are like completely broken. Like the entire psychic class of Pokemon in the first game are broken. They essentially don't really have a counter because there's like a bug and I don't even think dark or like a counter at the time. Anyway, I'm getting way too specific. It's just
Yeah.
like there's things about it that are like completely broken. There's like things that are like, oh, it's supposed to like raise your attack stat, but it instead it like raises it, like lowers it to 0. And it's like things where it's like if your stat goes to above 99, it resets to 0. So say you have an attack, like say your Pokemon has an attack stat at 99, and then you increase it through whatever, like your X attack or whatever. It'll reset to 0, and then your Pokemon's now his attack stat or whatever stat is now 0. But having said that, it's like every iteration of the game builds upon itself. But then the problem with the series is it's building. It's always like 3 steps forward, 2 steps back with that game series.
Yeah.
So that's the biggest issue, and you see it with like Sword and Shield now. There's like there's so much going on, but you have like the Dexit where they didn't bring enough Pokemon forward with them. All the fan favorite things that they've built on, they like cut. So there are ones that you should play and like remakes you should play, but now as like a gamer in today's times, if you went back to the original Game Boy ones, you would have a laugh.
Yeah.
They'd be fun, but I don't know how much like they're very much a nostalgia trip at this point. And I don't know how much, long story short, I don't know how much you would enjoy it. And also like the thing is too, in the newer games, like you like moves, you know what all the moves do because it tells you. It's like this increases your attack. Like this does 20 damage. In that game, it's like, it's like you're learning Vine Whip. Do you want to learn Vine Whip? What does it do? I don't know. Do you want to learn it?
Yeah.
Like you literally have no idea when you're like learning new moves. So there's a lot of things that are back asswards about the series, but I love it. If you can play it for emulator for free, go for it.
That was the same boat. I'm in the same boat as Kyle. I didn't really get into Pokemon until Pokemon Go, but I remember it during the time. I remember playing like Pokemon Red. I'm like, this is an RPG for children.
Yeah.
Did you do some PC Master Race shit for that?
Yeah. So during
we
that
have even
time,
cuter.
the first time I saw
characters?
Pokemon, the game Pokemon Red, was going to a buddy's house because he was showing me his Voodoo 2 card and Half-Life. Playing that game, and his like younger brother was emulating Pokemon, and that was the first time I saw emulation too. I'm like, whoa! He would speed it up between certain segments to get through it as he would speed up the grind.
Really?
So he was
Can you tell
cheating.
us a little bit of emulation just for the
Emulation? Emulation is just basically playing older generation.
Or current gen.
Or current, like in the Game Boy, you could play current, and like now you can kind of
Or like
playing console games on a PC.
Or like playing
That's
really
essentially what
playing.
it is.
Yeah.
Emulation is just
Playing console.
It's just essentially it's just emulating.
just like an emulator, like
It's
the
just
one I had on my
emulate-
phone that I was obsessed
Yeah,
with.
it's just like
Remember that?
emulating hardware. It's like
Old
you got, on
hardware.
your computer you can play you can play Game Boy games, you can play SNES
Play
games.
DOS-box.
So
DOS
emulating is the verb of it doing it.
Yeah.
to
Essentially.
emulate. Yeah, you
Yeah,
emulate. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
emulating.
You're emulating a person.
So
So if
he-
I'm doing an
he was-
impression of Andrew, I'd be emulating him.
That's greasy. That's true. I had the emulator because I had remember the emulator for Street Fighter. I started beating it on hard on my phone.
Are you
Nice.
serious?
I could beat Street Fighter 2 Turbo on hard on my phone. We don't need
That
to
is-
get back into Street Fighter
That's
2 Turbo.
awesome.
Oh.
And don't
With
worry, with
touch
all the
controls.
flexing I'm doing about games, those I have some bad ones too.
Oh, don't worry.
Like play me at Mario Kart. Mario Kart's the original. Terrible. Anyways, Pokemon continue.
Oh yeah, like honestly, I figure with that franchise too, I find that they would always release the 2 games, and I felt like it was always their test run because they knew people will buy it just because they created this brand that everybody loves,
There's
and then
always
they
the
would
third
release a
one.
third one that would be the best like of the 2. So and then they just followed that format throughout the whole franchise. Because originally what it was, because I think it was 151 Pokemon.
151, yeah.
So they split the Pokemon between the two games.
Well, there was like,
In
I
a
think
sense.
like there was like 8 that you can only find in each.
Yeah.
And then there's also ones where you had to trade
To get them.
the
and
evolution.
and
Yeah,
I
like-
remember I only knew most people had red. So
Yeah.
as a kid, trying to find people with blue was like, it was like a rarity. Where I don't know, maybe where I grew up, but everybody had the red because Charizard was like that Pokemon.
Yeah,
Everybody
he still
wanted
is. Let's
Charizard.
be real. Fucking,
Oh,
he
yeah.
has enough hate now because there's like how many Pokemon got cut from the decks, and there's like 3 versions of Charizard. But yeah, when Pokemon came out, it was like 98, 99, 98, I think.
Yeah, 90.
And I was in grade 8 at the time.
Oh wow.
So yeah, so when it came out, I was like I loved it, but like I was already like a little too old. Like I was like gonna be going into high school soon. It was like so I had to like kind of keep it on the down low.
Really?
So like I had this like Pokemon for me. Like I played it with my brother. My brother's younger than I am. He's 3 years younger. So we played it
I
together.
just played with my dorky brother.
No. But it's not that. It's like whatever. We had a great time. But I didn't like
He was
we
an
played.
awful child, huh? This guy.
What?
Anyways, you're an awful child. Continue.
So we just had the one Game Boy, and we would have to like reset the game every once in a while. So it's like, okay, his turn to play it, reset the game, whatever, because you only had one save file. So we didn't have a link cable with 2 Game Boys. Like a Pokemon for me, like I never traded with people, I never battled
wow.
people. It was just me and my brother with one Game Boy and one game, collecting them, and then like after a while, just being like, all right, let's reset the
How
game.
did you trade with people on the Game Boy?
That's what I'm saying. What, back in the day?
Yeah.
Yeah, but Omar was
The
saying
link
there's literally a
cable.
link cable. There's
Oh
like
my
a
God, through
fucking
the link cable.
There's
Yeah,
a
yeah.
wire.
Cable,
yeah.
yeah.
And that's how you battled people too. Was
That's
through
such a
link
gap
cable.
show. I apologize.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, it was once that link cable. Like I never owned one myself.
Trading then?
Oh,
Yeah.
dude,
I know how
was-
much I love it now.
Yeah.
I should have.
then was crazy. Like then was like
See, I
people would
I
get into
wish
fights.
I had that because I love it. I never had that like
Yeah.
schoolyard, like trading in the schoolyard. I never had that like battling people. It was, as I said, it was so much like just me and my brother with the one Game Boy.
A quick story. I think probably in grade 4, and I remember we were all playing at this playground, and obviously a kid brought the link cable, so people were linking up, trading, and we had this like winner take all kind of thing. And I don't know, these 2 kids were saying they're better than this kid or whatever, so they bet on like a certain character. I don't know if it was a Charizard or what it was, and the one kid lost, and they had to trade it. And he started to cry. Like he was like a mess, and he went home. And I just remember the next day his mom came to the school. It was
Trade
this
him back the
whole thing.
Pokemon.
man.
Yeah, it turned
Trade
into
back
a
those
huge
ones and
thing. And this kid
zeros.
was just like, well, we had like a bet, and I won, and we
Stuck
traded.
by his guns.
And like, yeah, he had to like.
This is
it
why
was
you don't
trade back.
ante up unless you can deal with it.
Right?
No.
That was the
Ante
first
up.
moment as a
Trade
kid. I was
that
like,
shit.
Have you seen Christmas Story when they're like doing the
Yeah.
daring
Yeah,
to
yeah.
stick the tongue out? It was kind of like that. Like I'm sitting there in this crowd of kids looking at these 2 kids like shit's about to go down.
Yeah,
and then when
it
he
was a
lost,
freestyle
and the look
battle,
on his
but
face,
Pokemon.
we were all like, normally kids would laugh. Like we were kind of laughing at first when we realized he was a mess. We were like, oh, this is
Dude,
dark.
I understand. That's why I can't do.
This is
That's why I
bad.
can't do like Nuzlocke challenges. Like, so the Pokemon games are super easy. Like, if you're an adult, the games are very easy.
Yeah.
So there's things called a Nuzlocke challenge where like certain parameters you put on yourself to make the game harder. And essentially the biggest ones are you catch every first area you enter, you capture the first Pokemon that you encounter. If you can't capture that first Pokemon, that's it. You move to the next area. If you catch them, cool, he's on your team. Now, if you have a Pokemon faint in the Pokemon world, when they faint, you take them to the Poke Center, heal them back, you revive them, whatever, they're fine.
Yeah.
If they faint in a Nuzlocke challenge, you release it, they're done, they're gone, they're dead. So
Oh.
that's why I can't do Nuzlocke challenges, because I fucking get so attached to those little
Yep.
ones and zeros that I can like letting it go would be like at a Fire Emblem game where it's just like permadeath. I can't do that. I can't do that. I get way too attached. So I did like a Nuzlocke challenge once for like a couple hours, and I'm just like, I can't do this.
Do you have to get grief counseling for?
I saw PTSD. I'm working through it.
I feel you on that, man.
Yeah.
Okay, guys,
Yeah.
we're gonna move on to Billy. Have you guys seen the latest episode of This Is Cosplay? It features Kin Chan, the armorer and run-of-the-mill creative genius from Wampan's Cosplay. You really need to see what this guy does to believe it. The series is put together by the Mind Refinery creative team and is a visually engaging look at identity, community, and passion. If you're a fan of cosplaying, gaming, anime, a comic book lover, or like us, general fans of nerddom, this series is for you. And now, back to the show. Billy.
Okay, so
Master it.
I did this list completely wrong. So this is my earliest game, but I would say it's one
It's
of
not. It's not chronological.
It's not
just,
chronological.
No,
Well,
it's just-
I still say okay.
It's just
So
your fondness.
going back to Milk and Things, this was the first one that just got me in. Williams Arcade, Smash TV, Smash TV multiplay. That was a twin stick shooter. First time I played one of those.
You should explain what a
So
twin stick
It's
shooter is.
Running Man the game.
Yeah, it was based off of the Running Man, that Arnold Schwarzenegger movie.
Oh man.
It had a reference to like RoboCop, where like there was the game. It was okay. So essentially, it's a game show. You're in this future world of 1999, and you're on a game show where you're in there with a buddy shooting people, grunts, goons, people coming in with like sticks and stuff like that, and little mechs and stuff like that, collecting spoil. So once again,
like
that Wolfenstein
microwaves and shit.
microwave
Oh, wow.
toasters, VCRs,
VCRs,
cash,
TVs,
dirty cash everywhere.
pearls, like pearl necklaces.
Yeah, and just keep going. And there was like an announcer that would say, "Oh, I'd buy that for $1," and all these like one-liners holding these two buxom blondes with like very much endowed and stuff like that. And they kept the thing about this game was, which later I learned was a complete lie from the developers, they kept teasing, if you kept going, you get to the Pleasure Dome.
Yeah.
So every time he would pop up with these girls, he kept teasing towards this Pleasure Dome, some like level where I don't know what would happen. My 8-year-old mind was going places. So it was almost a way to keep putting in more and more quarters to get to the Pleasure Dome. And later we found out, I watched a YouTube video in my adulthood, the Pleasure Dome never existed.
Fuck you, developers.
Yeah.
Wow.
You let's explain what a dual stick shooter is.
Oh yeah, a dual stick shooter. So basically you can shoot, you can move where you're shooting with one stick and move your character with the other. So so this game was made by some of the same developers of Robotron, which is going back, and that would be the first true dual stick shooter game, which you were like this little mad scientist guy walking around and shooting robots that are coming from every angle. So you're controlling movement and controlling aim at the same time. And I really like that in the game, like diagonal, all this stuff. And it was from a top-down perspective.
Oh wow.
So that game was an awesome multiplayer game.
Who did you play with mostly back in the day? Just randos, or did you have friends that you played with at the arcade?
So at the arcade, it was randos. It was puppies.
Yeah.
Puppies in real
Puppies.
life.
Blueberries.
And then finally, like I got the NES console version of it, and my buddy Errol would come over for sleepovers and stuff, and we'd play Smash TV. That's it. That's all we would play. The game was awesome. It was like almost like it was a ritualistic experience playing Smash TV. That was my first like couch co-op multiplayer game that got me in. But the arcade version was beautiful graphic wise, sound, everything.
Was the NES version, did it hold anything to the arcade version?
It was functionally the game, but it looked and sounded like it was
graphics
unsatisfying.
Yeah.
And the whole dual stick shooter aspect of it, you couldn't really do it. You couldn't do it at all.
That's the big problem with converting on some of these games, like converting from arcade to console, is that because it's like a second market for them, it's
a big loss in that. The
and
NES
quality and
one,
gameplay and
the only way with the NES game that you could play dual stick was you could get both controllers and hold them and use the D-pad, and that's how you could play dual.
Okay.
So you had to do this weird thing, and it was cool doing it once or twice.
it's like an engineer.
But you couldn't play, like, I only had 2 controllers. I couldn't play multiplayer.
Yeah.
So you would sacrifice that, I guess, the aiming, that other bit of mobility just to play multiplayer. So, but you look like a badass holding 2 NES controllers
you look
playing
like
this
you're-
game.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
You look like the wizard. I played the I don't know if it was a port, but it was the Super Smash TV for Super Nintendo. Again, shout outs to the Super Nintendo. That was again family friendly game, not at all.
Was it? Because I know Nintendo would sanitize.
It
like,
probably
games.
was, but there was definitely like the buxom blondes in
Okay.
bikinis, like do it. Yeah. But yeah, the Super Smash TV was great because it was the same thing, like the couch co-op. So my brother and I can play at the same time. We had the two sticks were the D-pad and then the four
so
face
it worked.
buttons.
That's awesome.
So it worked.
Nice.
So you could press them even at like the same time, do like diagonal shooting,
Yeah.
and that sort of thing. Was it like 8-way shooting with the thing,
I
or was
believe so, yeah, with the arcade, because it was mimicking an arcade stick,
Yeah.
so you had the full 8 ways.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't until I had the Midway Arcades compilation of PS2, Williams, because I think Williams went out of business, and whoever had probably Midway after at that point re-released them emulated, but running perfectly on PlayStation 2.
Nice.
And that I had
Oh.
the Dual Shock, so I could finally play once again a proper version of Smash TV. But
yeah, I what I liked about the game a lot was the whole the mechanics of it were like each screen was like a room. And
Yeah.
it was like the full room, and you almost had like a map. Each room was like laid out beside each other, and you could like choose. So you'd beat one room, it had like you had to beat all the guys, whatever, you shot all the enemies, you cleared the room, you got your loot, your money, and then you could be like, do you want to go like downwards or this
Yeah,
way,
you
or
got
do you want
that
to go to like
choice.
the right?
Yeah.
So I love that whole like kind of like branching aspect.
Yeah.
And then you played it enough times, you remember like, oh yeah, you want to go like down to this room, then you want to go like left, then you want to go to like the up, because like you remembered which rooms were like the funnest, which one had like the best loot.
I just wanted to find the Pleasure Dome, man. I couldn't
You're
find the
looking for the
Pleasure Dome.
Dome. Yeah, you're going to all
Not
sorts
only
of
did they
corners.
objectify women, they lied.
pleasure
They
dome.
lied
to
about it too.
sexually curious children.
There you
Yeah,
go.
absolutely.
What a slap in the face.
Screw you.
But yeah, and like the
developers.
music was fucking sick. I remember in that game, it was like these like little like MIDI like metal riffs.
Yeah, it had really good music.
Yeah,
Really,
it was
eh?
like
Even the
super
sound
cool.
effects were really interesting
Yeah.
too. When you picked up VCRs and all this stuff,
Yeah.
there was just so much going on, and
So much like money, and you just be like going over the money. You would
Yeah.
just be like, yeah, it was so
it
satisfying.
felt like that. It was like it because it was based off those movies of like during Reagan time, all this hyper capitalism and hyper
Yeah.
violence. It was just a joke. It was like satire, and I loved it. I was like,
like
this is hilarious.
rollerball and shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's funny because it's so weird. For me, that game was so like almost secondary. Like my brother and I played it, like we enjoyed it. I think we like, I don't know, we had a copy of it from somewhere. I don't know if it was ours. Or we
Are you
borrowed it.
trying to diminish my pick?
No,
What
no,
is
I'm
this
just saying-
guy doing?
I'm not diminishing. I'm just relating it to my own experiences.
Ooh, that's a new way of saying it.
So what I'm
I
saying
never
is,
heard diminishing being explained like that.
It's
I'm just
cool.
saying
That's
that
a sneaky
I did,
way of saying it. No, go ahead. Sorry.
that it didn't resonate as much with me, like with my brother and I.
Mhm.
Like for you, it's like your first favorite game of that genre.
Yeah.
And for me, it's just like another game that I played with my brother that like I had a good time with.
Mhm.
It's just funny how much it more resonated with you and like your experiences with it, while compared to me, it just kind of like was like
Sometimes
yeah,
you
it
get
was
into
fun.
those like that are more niche games. Like
Yeah.
for Dreamcast, I got into the Cardinal Sin, and like barely anybody played that damn game.
Don't even know what that game
and
is.
well, for me, it's about the obscure fighting games, right?
Yeah.
As well. So yeah.
Power Stone.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly.
Power Stone, yeah.
Exactly. Okay, guys. We're gonna move on. To mine. My number one. Mine is. I mean, when you're talking about grade 8s and them, you know,
Farting on me.
occupying the machine and all that kind of stuff. Mortal Kombat 2 was the game where I had to
Yeah.
step up more than anything.
Yep.
That was the game where I had to get good. It had this older kids are playing it because there's blood and heads being ripped off
Yeah.
and all this kind of stuff. And like we're playing it at the arcade in the movie theater as well. And at first I'm just getting waxed at this game. They're killing me. The Liu Kang users are like bicycle kicking me right off the fight screen. And then it just starts happening. And now I'm not going to get into another, well, I am going to get into another flex. But like there's other games, like for example, if you played me in Tekken, terrible. You'll
Yeah.
beat me at that. But this is the one. Melina is my character.
Yeah.
Her speed is blinding.
Does Boyan know about your Melina
Boyan,
prowess?
technical. Boyan had a bad experience with playing me in Mortal Kombat 2 and tried to research to make sure characters weren't overpowered
This guy was going too fucking. Yeah.
because I beat him in 20 seconds.
He was watching
No way.
YouTube videos in the corner.
No, that's why I like Melina too, because I have like a rhythm with it. If you're not playing a defensive game in that,
You're pretty much done.
yes, then I'm
That's-
gonna have my
Melina was
way
a
with you.
little cheesy, like a little cheesy.
No, it's cheesy for the guys who can't play at all. I can think of, first of all, you have a guy who can literally freeze and uppercut somebody.
Yeah,
So Sub-Zero is cheesy. Liu Kang is the cheesiest character
Yeah.
there is.
you can.
Liu Kang also.
Kang,
I will
Sub-Zero
admit though,
used to piss me
if
off,
you
but-
have, if you're a
Scorpion
proficient,
with the teleport punch. the way.
The only thing that was they kind of made the teleport punch not that. The thing is, it got you out of a jam, and you were able to like, if someone was closing in on you, you were able to get out.
Yeah.
But it wasn't like powerful enough to.
No, it wasn't super powerful for sure.
Yeah, but no, I used to. And this game, I would slam a quarter down and play, and we would just go at it. And I'd be like playing with the older kids, and it just really, especially compared to the first one, what I liked about the first Mortal Kombat was that it was like playing a kung fu movie.
Yeah.
So it was like, Enter the Dragon, just in terms of its aesthetics, even from like just the voice announcing in it and the way it's set up. It had that, that very kung fu movie trope, and I loved it. And it's just, and the only thing with it is that the the live the actor captures in it.
Yeah.
I mean, they were that was like groundbreaking for that time, being able to capture like having the the actors in it, but at the same time it wasn't quite there, and the game is slow. And I think that the speed of a game is, especially for fighting games, for me, is like a slow game. I don't feel I can get into rhythm.
Yeah.
For playing, there's like a weird like cadence almost when you're playing it, but Mortal Kombat 2 really upped it. Like they were still using like actor models, but like a lot of it was augmented. It was a little bit more cartoony
For sure. More colorful.
Yeah,
way more colorful, way more colorful. Like a lot more clarity. And like for me, this is one of the number one fighting games of all time. Fantastic. Less obstruction with the blood, because the whole blood thing, and there was the blood code once it started moving on to console, which again is another thing where these are games that are primarily released for arcade, but then like switching it over to console, it's like, does it live up to it? The first one, I don't. The conversion is terrible.
Yeah, it was pretty bad.
But this, when it came out for Super Nintendo, and I got it also.
It holds up. The graphics hold up for the second one so nicely.
I liked it. Yeah. I loved it.
And I got it for Game Gear because my family did the exact same thing, where they were like, "Oh, we have another present," and then at the top of the tree is the cartridge.
That's nice.
No
So
way.
how much money did your parents have to spend in batteries for that Game Gear?
It was like 2 days.
Gear.
It was like the first time because when I got the Game Gear originally, I got like Jurassic Park and Sonic. So I'm like playing it, I'm like, yay! And then it died, and I just realized that
It would literally last
you have
like
to use the adapter.
yeah. It would literally like the batteries would literally last less than half an
You
hour.
have to use the
It
adapter.
would be
And
like,
to be very honest with you, like the graphics were better on Game Gear, but I preferred playing a Game Boy just because there's a portability of it. I preferred the way it felt in your hands and all that kind of stuff.
the one thing that the Game Gear was fucking sick. Like at the time, like it looked. I mean, like whatever you see now, like the tiny little screen and whatever. But like at the time, that was like mind blowing because all we had was like the Game Boy, and you're like, yeah, Game Boy rules. This is so much fun. And then like all of a sudden the Game Gear comes out, and you're like, the Game Boy is still cool, but what
I also had the Sega Master System conversion thing as well.
That's
so there was a cartridge holder where you put it into the Game Gear, and then you could put full Sega Master System cartridges in it.
Was that a first party? Was that like a Sega release, or was
I don't know. I literally borrowed my friends of it because I'm like, what the fuck is that?
I never gave back.
And he only had because I had Sega Master System games, right?
Yeah.
So because my uncle gave me a Sega Master System, and I would play it. I play like the Wonder Boy and all that kind of stuff, and like the original Shinobi, and I loved it. The only thing. That game really was good for Game Gear. I felt that it didn't translate well when they put it onto, because they did come up with a Game Boy version of it. Yeah, and it was
of Mortal Kombat. 2,
oh my god!
Got two
really?
Buttons.
There's a Game
How do you
Boy
even
version?
play it with two buttons?
You have to like it's ridiculous, and you have to
use
like
start and select.
Well, honestly, it's like ridiculous. No, it's almost as ridiculous as playing a fighting game on Genesis, because if you played a fighting game on,
it was always the worst on Genesis.
You had to hold the two buttons. You had to hold the two buttons at the same time.
When MK2 came out, the 6-button controller came out for Genesis.
Did it really?
They had to do
it
at the same time.
They had to do it.
The same time. So then like everyone got
playing
new
it for
controllers.
Street Fighter, the 3-button is
terrible. Yeah,
it's
just like anything. Like, and also just the layout of those 3 buttons. It was like so wide you couldn't like press like the 4 buttons with the Super Nintendo. Like that's why every controller since then has been that layout. Like there's a reason for that.
Subsequent Mortal Kombats, I like haven't been that into. Like I don't like the most recent Mortal Kombat. Like it's pretty good, but like when it comes to that game, I'm a classicist.
You're a classist.
Yeah.
He's a Marxist.
And it just like, and I just don't like how Like now, I feel like the fatalities are like you rip a guy's arm off, you
it's
use
over
it
the
as a
top.
flute.
I love that
then,
though.
like,
I
hit him
always
with
watch
it.
like every Mortal Kombat game. I watch the
The,
fucking
the
the fatality
yeah,
like
I always do
supercut
it.
on YouTube. It's like an hour and 20 minutes long, and I'm like, hit me with it. You played the new Mortal Kombat.
I like Mortal Kombat 11. I mean, I see.
It's monetized. Like it's fucking microtransaction hell though. No.
You don't need to see that if you don't want to.
Oh, really?
Is it microtransactions where it's like it gives you power, or is it just for cosmetics?
It's just
it's like power ups. No, you have to like level up like your
You can,
fucking
but that's a
fighting
different
game?
Yeah.
mode. So
fair. Yeah,
There's
obviously.
Okay.
different.
as
You
long
can
as-
go straight to the towers. You can go straight to arcade mode and play it how it should be played. But then there's other modes to cheese out more gameplay out of it.
Yeah.
That get you addicted to the micro.
Well, some of the
You don't need
towers
to
and
see
shit you
that
can't
stuff.
beat without like power ups.
That's a particular
Really?
tower mode.
Okay.
That it's all that other stuff that I don't know. I'm
And then there's,
I don't
like,
care about
also,
this
like, that,
stuff. I
like-
just want to beat up people.
That like loot box fucking mode where you just like go around a castle like
there's
opening
like a
loot
treasure
boxes.
chest mode.
Yeah.
But those are separate modes.
Of
that
course,
you
of
have
course.
to play.
Yeah.
There's a treasure chest mode now?
Yeah.
Yeah. There's all this
That's-
stuff.
But like so
The game's still there. Though.
so like the base fighting game, if you just want to pick up and play with your buddy, can you just like pick a guy, he picks a guy,
Absolutely.
and you fight? Okay,
Arcade.
that's cool.
Arcade mode.
Yeah, okay, that's cool.
there. You don't need to do that. But I understand there was something about like Mortal Kombat 2 that was like everything about that. The commercial, remember the commercial?
No, the Mortal Kombat 1 commercial.
Oh, so in the streets?
Yeah.
It's so
like,
epic.
Like nowadays,
So
like you
epic.
don't have like
It's like Bone Storm and Simpsons.
yeah, like nowadays, like marketing campaigns. They didn't have like marketing campaigns for video games. Like I mean, yeah, like if you have like the big games, they might have some big, but like that, like when the Mortal Kombat came out or like the GoldenEye came out, like it was on like every channel. Like the commercial was on like every channel. Like you'd see that shit all the time, and like the hype would just be so palpable in the schoolyards and shit. So like I don't know, maybe I'm not like I'm tapped into the like the zeitgeist now, but it's like the average consumer is not being exposed to these.
Well, you can tell
our
it's a-
marketing
you can tell it's a big
campaigns.
marketing campaign when you're a kid because you're seeing it
Yeah,
because you're not looking for it. Whereas now it's like if for something we like,
yeah.
we're trying to find the marketing campaign.
Exactly.
It's a
Exactly.
See,
different
for me,
landscape.
it was a little bit different being younger. It was the movie that got me into the game
Oh.
because the movie came out in '95,
Yeah.
and I probably
Sick
saw it
movie.
2 years after when the second one came out.
Annihilation.
Yeah, Annihilation.
So bad.
So like we now we're like, oh, we like this movie. We like playing like fake fighting at recess. Let's play this game now. And then that's when I kind of got introduced to it. And by the time I was like really into it, Mortal Kombat 4 for the N64 came out.
Yeah.
And I got that. And that was like my
liked Mortal Kombat.
first like main playing with a bunch of people playing that game. Although I wasn't really the biggest kid for fighting games, but that game, because of the movie, we were like all in it. Like I go back watch the movie now, it's kind of terrible. But
the first one. Like,
no, the first
holds
one
up.
I still
Yeah.
like. It has nostalgia. Second one was just
Garbage.
Because I feel like it's like how many of these actors were in the Kevin Sorbo Hercules series?
right.
Right? Like let's be
Let's be
real.
real.
I'm like, wasn't this mofo on the Xena Warrior Princess? or
Oh,
some shit?
dude, great show by the way.
Xena Warrior Princess.
I love
I've
that
never
shit.
really watched it. To be honest.
Yo,
love
they came
that
out with
show
like a
right
Mortal Kombat series too. It was like
I
Really?
watched it. I actually watched the Mortal Kombat series. I actually really enjoyed. I mean, I was young
it was
when it
better
came
than
out.
Mortal Kombat 2.
Yeah, I enjoyed it as a kid.
That was on
It
TV in the
Yeah.
90s.
Yeah,
Yeah, or
like
early
nine-
2000s.
No,
was
it was
late
like
90s.
it was like 96 or
Yeah,
something.
yeah. I thought it was.
I
Yeah,
might
you
have to
gotta-
go
you gotta
back
look
and watch
up.
that. I
You
didn't
gotta
watch
look that up for sure. That's a pirate. That's a
Yeah,
Pirate Bay trip for sure.
Pirate Bay trip.
All right,
That's probably old
easy
enough
there.
YouTube.
Okay,
trip.
well, if I can get a paid copy of it, I will. If you can find me a
Definitely.
paid copy of this, you'll find it on eBay probably.
I did watch one. I know this is going slightly off topic, but I did watch like a few years ago. Watch a series on YouTube, like a
98 to
pilot
99.
series of it, and it was like set in modern times.
Oh,
There
so
was
yeah,
like
it
a
was sick.
proof of
yeah, and they were
concept-
like a
Yeah.
police officer.
There was like
Jack.
a proof of
Yeah.
concept that was put out, and apparently they were gonna, and it was like super dark and gritty.
Yeah.
and they were gonna do that, and like Jax was.
like a police officer. or
Yeah, he was like
something.
he was like an FBI agent or something like
Yeah.
that, and it was like super gritty and all this shit, and everyone's like, "This is gonna be the Mortal Kombat that's coming out," and everyone's like, "Did you see that?" Then there's nothing,
and nothing came from it. And I always thought that was gonna be cool, and I thought the
They-
games were
didn't
gonna
they
follow
do?
that.
I think they did something with it.
I know there's a Street Fighter one that got something.
Remember the
but-
Street
with
Fighter
Van
movie?
Damme, the Van Damme Street Fighter
Colonel
movie.
Guile, who's apparently Belgian.
Oh man.
Yeah, I don't know how does that hold up. I saw it when I was a kid. The Super.
The Street Fighter movie
Thank you. The Street Fighter
does
movie
not hold up.
does not hold
It
up.
wasn't a good
No.
movie.
Okay. I remember not even really liking it as a kid, to be
No,
honest.
It's not as gritty as the Mario Brothers movie.
Oh god.
Fuck.
That
That
movie
is
was-
existential nightmare visually.
It's an interesting watch. Like it's interesting.
I'm like
forgot
Dennis.
it
I'm like
existed
Dennis
for a
Hopper is Koopa.
Yeah, everybody was wasted.
For sure.
No, like that. Yeah,
For sure, cocaine use on that set
Yeah.
was through the roof on a nice Mario movie.
I was just a kid who didn't know what was going on. I'm like, this isn't Mario, and I turned it off.
yeah.
Yeah.
pretty
By,
much
by the
fine.
way, the Mortal Kombat show was Mortal Kombat Conquest from 98 to 99.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
Good.
Really?
Did it
Okay.
did it get a second season? Is there two?
Well, I know
seasons
it's
on
98. No, just one season
it?
actually.
Ooh,
Oh wow.
yeah,
I'm still gonna go try to find that because I want to.
Yeah.
yeah, man.
It's 22 episodes apparently.
They did a full. They did actually a
Wow.
full season. That is absolutely fantastic. Okay, guys. We definitely got to get going.
Yes.
How long was this episode?
This episode? Oh, we've
That's
done.
not- that's not
only-
terrible.
No, that's the second half
Yes, of this 2-part episode.
of this
The
two-part
special,
episode.
Two-parter.
This is the
Yeah.
special 2-part
2 hours.
family message.
And the thing is, we could keep going. Like
Yes,
this is
I think we're gonna have to break this one into 2 parts, guys. Anyways, thank you so much for doing this. Stay tuned for the next part, which is going to be middle school. We're going to be
Nice.
adding some more variables. Women,
women?
women.
What women were you seeing in middle school?
No, like I need to like, they're there now.
Oh, they're there.
They're
Yeah,
there
you're
now.
interested
They're there
in
now.
yeah.
The opposite sex is there, whether it's men or women, or it's there now. Now it's a thing. Now it's like I'm playing video games, but should I be doing something else? The end result is still no. I'm going to play video games.
Yeah.
But it's a bit.
I still play way too many video games.
Yeah, I still do too. I'm a
So do I.
sir. I'm barely engaged. Anyways, thank you, gentlemen.
No problem.
Appreciate it. Thanks, audience.
Thanks, guys.
All right, guys, thanks for listening. Just a reminder, if you like this podcast and want to keep hearing it, subscribe and give us a 5-star review. And if you're not already subscribing to our YouTube channel or following us on social media, get on it. You will not regret it.